Welcome back, ladies and gents, to the Garena Premier League 2017 summer season as we head into our third game for the last day of the group stage. Of course, before anything else, let's go ahead and introduce ourselves. Arcticatio Service Fam as your caster, and with me, of course, is Iconic. And wow, oh wow, of course, for this game, it is going to be Vietnam's Young Generation versus Malaysia's Kuala Lumpur Hunters. Although, technically, there isn't really that much of a heavy bearing on this game.
No bearing whatsoever, actually.
But yeah, nonetheless, of course, let's go ahead and check out our standings, I believe. Yes, it is going to be the standings. In first, of course, is Young Generation at 6-1. Next, of course, tied actually for second is Team Manila Eagles and Resurgence, both at 4-3. Fourth, of course, Kuala Lumpur Hunters at 3-4. And of course, finally is Hunters at 1-7. So it's actually, for this particular game, as you did mention, there's no bearing whatsoever. Regardless of what happens, Young Generation does go in as the first seed to go up against Ascension Gaming, while it's actually our next game that follows after this, the one between Team Manila Eagles and Resurgence, that'll ultimately determine who will be going up against the Gigabyte Marines as the second seed coming out of the group stage for the Garena Premier League.
Yeah, so we'll see what will happen in this game, but frankly, whatever happens, happens, and it won't affect too much. I feel like this game, I want to see both teams actually pull out tricks like Timo, Heimerdinger, you know, because I'm sure both teams understand that this game has no bearing. So I feel like they can have a little bit of fun with it, you know, see our crowd favorite Yasuo come out, see some play, maybe Urgot, you know, fun things that'll give our viewers an interesting time.
Yeah, like those very interesting pocket picks. You know how some pros, they have these very unorthodox, crazy picks that they suddenly see, but they...
Nami mid.
There you go, there you go. Come on, fingers crossed, guys. Come on, guys. Give us something interesting for today.
Yeah, because sometimes when teams know that there's no bearing to a game, and they don't want to get like serious serious game time, they just play for fun because it's on stage as well. And that's something I look forward to, because like they can always scrim like behind the scenes, but rarely do they get to play like really fun champions in front of more than 1,000 viewers.
Exactly. I think we've seen somewhat of the same trend. If I'm not mistaken, that was on the LCS, wherein there was a match wherein they didn't really have that much bearing, so they went really crazy with all the picks. So, you know, we'll see if that might be the case, or if they still decide to take it seriously nonetheless.
Yeah, I think that was an EU LCS actually.
Ah, there we go, yeah.
EU LCS. But we'll see the pick and bans. It looks a little bit serious still. Galio ban, Rek'Sai ban. Hopefully, they're just trying to spell something out.
Maybe.
Who knows, they might be trying to spell something out. But so far, very serious bans coming out from both sides. I feel like we won't get a exhibition match between Team Timo and Team Yasuo.
Yeah, I was hopefully expecting that maybe the bans would kind of spell out an acronym, but I guess looks like both sides will be taking this game.
Maybe it is. We need to like take a look.
Yeah.
So, like it's RLM and BZG. Okay, never mind. Let's give up on that.
But yeah, looks like for the first lock-in, it's gonna be Jarvan the 4th. So it looks like they won't be holding back for this game at all. You know, gonna go out with a bang. Kuala Lumpur Hunters.
But yeah, like prioritizing a flex pick, really good. Cho'Gath is still available as well. You can pair it up with a Cho'Gath. My personal favorite is probably looking at the Elise as well, because like Elise is really good in this patch. The trend that we've seen in the past 3 days is that there isn't that much priority on Elise as there is on like in the LCK. And I feel like maybe it's just a difference in the playstyles between Southeast Asian countries.
True. So it looks like we will be seeing the lock-in while we await the next pick for the Kuala Lumpur Hunters. 3 seconds remaining, and that's going to be the lock-in on the Jace.
Yeah, so flex.
Yes.
Flex again. So KLH just flexing their muscles right now. You don't know what champions they're gonna, what these champions are gonna go to what lane. This might be a Jace top. It is now officially a Jace top. We have a Jarvan jungle, and we have Arhedge on that mid Orianna. Very safe mid lane. And right now, you've got to be thinking, what's going to be their bottom lane, because the Kalista locked in for YG. I like how they prioritize the Kalista. So a lot of Kalista goes really well with Kalistar. You have the Kalish Thresh, you have the Kalista Khan. So many variables,
Yeah.
so many viable supports coming out from YG. And do note that they actually do get the first pick, so they won't be prioritizing support bans here. They'll just ban out Tristana, maybe even the Saya as well, and then put Becky on an awkward spot, like maybe on Twitch, Varus and Ash.
I see.
Yeah, what's going to happen is the young generation team will be picking a support that isn't banned out. So will it be the Kalista Khan or will it be the Kalista Thresh? That is the question right now. What does KLH want to give up? I do know for a fact that Bipolar loves his Thresh, so I feel like they might actually ban the Thresh. Exactly, because they don't want Bipolar to go up against the Thresh. And do note that Bipolar did play Blitzcrank as well, so that is a pocket pick coming out from KLH. And right now it will be the Rakan for sure. It's pretty obvious, like the Kalista Khan, the only other viable support you run with Kalista. I feel like there are others as well, like Leona, but those are, you know, for normal games.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, so now you see the ADC and bot lane. This will be either a Saya, a Twitch, and then for Bipolar, it will be either, oh, actually a Kog'Maw. Kog'Maw actually works, and then will we see something like a Lulu or a Sona, or something that can actually keep Becky safe? Maybe even a support Ash.
Oh!
And then no, we're just kidding. It's gonna be a Lulu for sure. Lulu or Karma. That is the only way they would pick that Kog'Maw into it. So now we need to find out what the mid lane is gonna be for young generation. Do they want Naul to have some fun? I see the Katarina hover. This might be interesting. But it looks like they're just going for the very standard Oriana versus Syndra matchup. Very skill matchup. Really leaning towards whoever is actually the better mid laner, and whichever team's jungler actually exerts good, decent amount of pressure in the mid lane.
And I guess regardless, with both sides locked, and come to think of it, the last KLH versus YG game during day one, it was actually the Koala Hunters that took a score off YG. So they're definitely the only team that managed to defeat Young Generation in the group stage. So I guess, considering that this is their last game for the group stage right now with no bearing whatsoever, you know, they want to still show that, you know, at least we could honestly say that we were the only team that took down the first seed, because none other team was able to do that.
Yeah, but one thing we've observed from the 3 days of GPL is that no one is safe.
True.
Because Kuala Lumpur Hunters lost to a lot of teams that they shouldn't have lost to, and then they won. Young generation, like, you know how like everyone's actually on like even footing except Young Generation.
Exactly, yes.
So like I felt like it was a really big toss-up between Resurgence, Team Manila Eagles, and Kuala Lumpur Hunters. I'm not so sure about Headhunters, but I feel like those three teams who are actually in the middle of the pack, it could have gone either way.
Exactly, that's actually quite true. But nonetheless, of course, this is going to be the third game we're going to be venturing into for the last stage of the group stage. But of course, in the next stage to come, we'll be actually having a break tomorrow, followed by the knockout round, which is going to be all the more intense, because this is where we're going to be seeing teams like the Gigabyte Marines and Ascension Gaming, you know, kind of waiting. They've managed to watch all these teams duke it out in the group stage, so I'm pretty sure they all have a fairly good idea as to what to expect and how they plan out going up against whoever they do end up with. Of course, by default already, Young Generation is still maybe going up against Ascension Gaming, so we'll just have to see.
Yeah, and Ascension Gaming versus Young Generation, that's going to be interesting, because what might happen is Young Generation goes through, and then it's gonna be interesting because like the winner of Gigabyte Marines versus Resurgence / Team Manila Eagles is gonna be somewhat a rematch, either a rematch of the Vietnamese League or a rematch of the group stages.
Exactly, storylines either way for whatever the results. But look at this, we will be heading into Summer's Rift now once again for Game 3 of the final day of the group stage for the Garena Premier League 2017 summer season. Of course, once again, this is between the Kuala Lumpur Hunters of Malaysia versus Young Generation of Vietnam, the second seed.
And Shiro already getting a head start in the gold, has 5 gold, taking down 1 Spiderling from Venus. Luckily, Venus was quick to react, went back to human form, and denied the other Spiderling, or else it would have been a decent gold lead for for Kuala Lumpur Hunters.
Indeed.
Not the way you want to start with by giving your enemy team 10 gold. 5 gold, sure, why not?
But there we go. Looks like for both sides, actually both junglers will be starting off towards the bottom side of the map respectively. So we'll just have to see though. Now that I notice, okay, there we go. So it is indeed going to be the standard buff starts for both sides. But yeah, looking at the, as you said earlier, looking at these composition here, very standard. We'll just have to see. It all depends on how both sides play it out individually and coming together as a whole during the latter parts of the game.
I like how Arhead just really punishing Naul, getting the lane priority, which is very easy as a Oriana as well. With the empowered auto attacks, with the command attack, immediately hits level 2, takes a Thunderlord's proc onto Naul, forcing him to burn 1 potion already. And the CS lead right now for Arhead is just an indicator of like how the difference between the two laners.
Indeed, and just thinking about this game, I can't help but think that if Kuala Lumpur Hunters actually takes down Young Generation, you know, they're almost like the team that we never had going into the knockout stage. Because by history, now that I realize, last GPL, they went pretty well, I'd say, against the Gigabyte Marines, having gone 2-3 in the semifinals. So it just goes to show that it's such a shame that we won't be seeing him make it to that next stage. With, especially by history, technically they've already beaten the Young Generation, but looks like Arhedge might be in a bit of trouble himself. Cocoon actually connects, but looks like no further pursuit coming in from 2 members of YG.
Yeah, but what this means is Venus will be going for a return gank onto Arhedge a little bit later on while the cleanse is still down. And interesting enough, you actually have a triple buff start coming out from Caspiel over Venus. He was able to steal the red buff of Venus, was able to take his Raptors as well.
Ooh, Caspiel though kind of lingering towards the top side. Will he be going for it though? Yes, he will. Unfortunately, does not get the knockup. Continues the chase though, but looks like the top laner for YG will be able to escape.
Yeah, and he had a ward there, just wasting the time of Caspiel, trying to buy time for Venus to actually catch up. Because Caspiel, his pathing was really interesting. He went red buff to red buff. Red buff to Raptors to blue and then Gromp, which is something you rarely see.
Oh, there we go though. Caspiel just all over this map. Unfortunately, no connect, but that is going to be a flash down for Naul.
Yeah, trading summoner, just making sure that Naul and Venus can't go too ham on Arhedge, forcing the flash out of Naul, and then you will see that now he's on the right side. But I feel like there's no gank opportunity here at the bottom lane. He might go for an invade onto the Gromp. You see pings already coming out from Young Generation. They know if he's going for the Gromp. And
knock up though onto Bipolar. He might be in trouble here, but looks like he will manage to survive with a slither of help, although at the cost of both summoner spells down.
Yeah, and one thing that's also notable here is Veki isn't running barrier. He's actually running cleanse.
Oh, now that you mention it. Interesting. I love this is very signature Caspiel right here. Just trying to choke out Venus. Again, it will just be so surprising if they actually translate this to another win.
Yeah, because right now the CS lead might be in favor of Venus, but you can tell that the EXP lead is in favor of Caspiel. Caspiel already getting that Rift Herald as well. You can see the gap between the two junglers, especially with a triple buff start. He's probably ahead by like half a level. And there's no signs of him stopping, also going for the Krugs. And Venus is going to his jungle asking himself, where'd my camps go?
Indeed, like if I were Venus right now, it would be very, very tricky. And the interesting thing is that in the midst of all these takes from Caspiel, not to mention he has the time to even gank lanes as we've seen earlier, so really well played.
Yeah, but Becky on the back foot in this bottom lane matchup, you can already see the CS lead slowly growing, almost 15 actually 15, soon to be 10 CS lead onto him by Big Koro.
Definitely rather unfortunate. But it's like Venus himself in the midst of starvation in his jungle, trying to seek out any other takes that he can from Caspiel's own. We'll just have to see if he is successful though, but looks like he will opt to instead establish some level of vision to try to spot his counterpart out. Oh, RH though actually gets stunned. Will he follow up with a cocoon? No! Actually flashes away to save his life, but that is going to be a summoner spell down for the mid laner of Kuala Lumpur Hunters.
I feel like Venus is very passive with, very conservative with how he's been using his flash. He had a decent flash opportunity there. He could have just executed her as well, but like right now you can see that they're dedicating 3 members onto this mid lane dive, but then they get spotted out by that ward.
Ooh, there we go. So that is going to be awareness for our hedge right there. But looks like Young Generation will be backing off for the meantime, given that that is information for KLH to just kind of take it easy.
And like we said, we're not getting a game where we'll see Yasuo's and Teemos. It looks like both teams came here to play.
Yeah, our hedge though might be in trouble here. Actually manages to step away, but looks like it will be Naul will be going down. First blood ultimately going to our hedge.
Yeah, so Naul missing that one crucial skill shot. He just needed that dark sphere to land onto our hedge, and he would have won the mid lane matchup. And right now, look at how much CS he's going to miss. Venus will be catching that wave, but still, our hedge greatly punishing Naul, probably 500 to 600 gold ahead just with that solo kill. Man, and the EXP lead as well.
That was some good fancy footwork right there. I was almost expecting that he'd be done for, but then again, just at that moment, ooh, Caspiel though, will he be going for Venus in this case? Actually gets the knock up on and continues. Venus taking a lot of damage, trying to duel it out, but looks like Pallet will be joining the fray, though it might be Caspiel that might regret this. He actually gets knocked up. Big Koro on this case right now. Will he be going down? And yes, the kill ultimately going to the AD carry of Young Generation.
And the red buff as well.
Yautza.
So this will give Veki a harder laning phase. We know that Veki is a very hit or miss AD carry, especially with his performance this week. So you can see this replay right here. Naul actually gets the upper hand, but then misses that Q. He could have thrown it on top of Arhedge, but he tried to expect Arhedge to actually fully commit to that sidestep. But then with the fancy footwork, as you said, coming out from Arhedge, gets the advantage and lands the ultimate. Instantly kills Naul with the auto attack and with the help of the caster minions.
Ah, yes, now you mention it. So, good things for RH right there, but then again, still with that takedown on Caspiel, 1-1 on this floor, but still everything very even. But looks like Caspiel tries to catch out. Unfortunately, Shockwave does not connect. Noctu might be getting Caspiel here. Will he die? And yes, he goes down. Looks like they will be continuing the fight though. Shiro trying to back away as they continue the chase. Arhedge as well in there for that extra support, but looks like that'll be yet another casualty, 1 for 1.
Yeah, jungler for jungler. This game is very even. I feel like the only discrepancy here is the bottom lane.
Yautza though, actually, Shiro might be in trouble here, getting a lot onto it. Forced to flash, but will secure the kill and survive yet another day.
Yeah, but I feel like he would want to reset this wave. Do take note that Shiro still has his teleport and he will be able to soak this wave the moment he does come up.
Just have to see though again. Just kind of goes back and forth between teams here, but nonetheless still very equal playing field. You know, very different from the tempo that we've seen during the first game that YG had against Team Manila Eagles, where it was a little bit more
aggressive.
Exactly. That really leaned towards Young Generation's favor. But KLH actually has been the one making the more has been a little bit more proactive, especially in the form of Caspiel within the first minutes. But then again, overall, it didn't really translate to anything as it's still very much equal.
Yeah, so right now you can tell that Big Koro is crazy ahead with the wit's end. Something you rarely see.
Oh man, this is gonna be the 3-man dive though. Shiro is very much aware, though, that not just sure of how many members exactly. That is going to be the revelation right there as 3 members dive in onto the top laner, and that is going to be the kill going to the Renekton.
Venus has really fast hands, I must say. He wanted to land the bite, but then before he actually landed the bite, he immediately repelled for some weird reason.
Yeah.
Just a micro admiration of what he did. He didn't even need to land and execute damage. He just was there to tank the turret and reset the aggro.
Ooh, Caspiel actually getting the knock-up onto Palace, but here comes teleports coming in from both sides, though might not even be necessary, though, as Shiro finds himself in a very delicate situation, goes down. That is going to be 2-0 in favor of Young Generation.
Yeah, so it's still very scary for this Wit and Kalista because none of them actually have magic resist, and he just deals more bonus damage because of that.
Also, though, the support, though, of Kuala Lumpur Hunters, Bipolar might be in a sticky situation himself. Will he be going down, though? Survives with a slither of health, and that will force them to back away. But in exchange, though, Young Generation will be getting this outer bottom turret.
Yeah, and the gold split between the Renekton and the Kalista. These are the champions that you want to have most of the gold on. The first blood gold actually goes to them, and it'll help them snowball their lanes even harder.
Man, I'm gonna have to take it back, really. I was just saying that the tempo was a little bit different, but probably, yeah, for the first 8 minutes. But now, Young Generation just really starting to pick up the speed here. But Kuala Lumpur Hunter is gonna get this a little bit of a consolation in the form of this Mountain Drake. We'll just have to see as to whether or not it actually helps them in the latter parts of the game when they're actually behind right now.
Yeah, but what you can expect here right now is another tower dive, possibly onto Shiro. No, actually, because Shiro doesn't back to his turret. He will fight Venus 1v1.
Yes, we'll be going for the duo. Knockup coming in from Palace, but that doesn't delay the inevitable that Shiro will really be going down, though. Actually, Palace, yes, does get the auto attack.
And Shiro's gold value is so low right now, just 186 gold. And dropping, because he is 1-4 right now, and Caspiel is 0-3.
Not the best position at all for Kuala Lumpur Hunters. You know, they had a lot of bravado, a lot of things going for them in the first minute, but the fact that they weren't able to translate that into establishing a lead, or not, because it just kept on going even. And now because of that blunder that happened towards bot lane, you know, it's just really Young Generation. I'm kind of worried that they might be able to pull the deal for throttle in this case, but looks like Knockup actually going to connect onto Bipolar once again. Bipolar trying to run away, but Big Goro gets the kill. Becky himself might be in a little bit of a predicament himself as Young Generation continues the chase. Becky trying to duel it out. Double kill for Big Goro. Caspiel might be the next casualty here. Big Goro actually gets the shockwave, but still manages to take down Caspiel. Triple kill before ultimately going down to RH.
Yeah, that was some fancy footwork. He actually was able to dodge the ultimate coming out from RH with the martial poise and just hopping in and out, forcing. It's actually really hard to land those kill shots, especially when your Kalista already has a lot of attack speed this early on in the game.
Exactly. I mean, Ruin's Hurricane plus Wit, and that's good, absolutely insane. Almost unheard of. 2 items completed over. We're only heading into 15 minutes of this game here, so that's pretty insane. And of course, here towards the bot side, Shiro trying to defend this, but then again, like we do see, he is quite behind. Let's go ahead and check out what happened.
So as you can see, Venus is actually left in the Rift Herald pit. Like, we already saw what Bikoro did, but I like how RH actually solo kills Venus in the start of the fight. Take a look at how they commit, but then Caspiel suddenly becomes the ball delivery system. Big Koro dancing in and out, dodges the ultimate if I'm not mistaken, and then sadly didn't have enough HP to actually do it, to out-duel RH.
Yes, indeed. Of course, currently looking at the score 5-10. Kuala Lumpur Hunters actually getting scouted out here by the members of Young Generation as they establish offensive warding on the side of Kuala Lumpur Hunters, which is not good as the blue buff is actually taken as well. But here we go, we have a little bit of a fight here. Becky trying to damage Bipolar, actually getting the kill, while Becky managing to take down Big Koro as well. Looks like the mid lane, or rather the jungler for Young Generation, will have to back away from this.
I feel like they know that they're ahead, but they're getting really complacent with these fights. And Big Koro, the way he's playing, it seems like he's really confident But sadly, the execution isn't there.
Yeah, Arhedge though forced to flash away, but looks like Nocti continuing the chase though will be going down, ultimately taking a lot of turret shots, but does not spell death for him whatsoever.
Yeah, and what's going to happen is they are going to look at this mid lane turret because
Caspian might be in trouble himself. He gets the knockup onto Naul. Cataclysm actually to get the kill, but Venus actually on the sail along with Nocti. I'm not sure he'll be able to survive this cocoon necessarily, but here we go, Pallet as well. Caught in a tight place, Big Koro ultimately getting the kill.
yeah, and Caspiel actually getting a gold reset with that solo kill onto the mid laner of Young Generation, and then giving full gold value again, 300 gold to Big Koro. And that's not what you want to happen because Big Koro is just getting bigger and bigger.
Indeed, no pun intended, of course, no pun intended. But looks like, of course, Kuala Lumpur Hunters will be contesting over here at Rift Herald as they do see the take happening right now, but I don't think they will be able to deny it as more members of Young Generation converge onto this very crucial buff here.
Yeah, and you can tell right now, like, how things are going, how Big Koro is actually itemizing as well. So you can see here, take a look at how over aggressive they are. They don't actually have a lot of HP on Pallet, and then Big Koro just gets polymorphed, and then the growth as well coming out from Bipolar just turns it into a really uneven fight.
Indeed.
But one thing you can take note of with the Wit's End into the Runan's Hurricane is it amplifies the damage coming out from Venus and Naul. So if Naul and Venus actually offer Haunting Geysers, then it's going to be very scary for them because they already have the Sorcerer Shoes together with the Magic Ped coming out from Haunting Geys, and then they have the Magic Resist Shred as well coming out from the Wit's End.
Indeed. And I think, regardless, it's definitely something that will heavily benefit from, especially looking at their respective scorings right now, 0 and 2 for both, although they do make up for it in a sense. Looks like Shiro though just having a hard time going up against this Renekton, but here we go. R-Edge is ultimately caught out though. Knockup does not connect onto Caspiel as he does manage to escape.
Yeah, but this will mean 2 turrets for KLH, for Young Generation, unless Shiro can wave clear. Because they do have that Rift Herald, and they can, and this second threat will be taken down really quickly.
And Young Generation slowly making the Kuala Lumpur Hunters bow down, as this is just too much pressure for them to deal with. Again, mid inner turret, potentially also.
What is up with the macro coming out from Kuala Lumpur Hunters right now? I saw Shiro making his way to mid, suddenly goes bot and gives another free turret. They were only supposed to lose 2 turrets there, but then for some weird reason Shiro goes to bot lane. They end up losing their inhibitor turret as well.
This is absolutely crazy. Like,
I feel like the comms right now in Kuala Lumpur Hunters are very chaotic because people don't know what's happening. Like Caspiel invading by himself with no lane priority coming out from his mid lane and bot lane. Happening multiple times actually. You also have Veki and Bipolar losing the 2v2s from time to time. And then Shiro probably right now, because he's 1-4, he's probably very tilted. He didn't do much. He had the right idea in mind. He recalled early from bottom lane to make sure that they wouldn't lose the inhibitor turret. And then the moment they take down the outer turret, the inner turret rather, he immediately goes bot lane, assuming that they won't commit to the inhibitor turret. And then they lose another turret. And what this means for them is Arhit is going to have a really hard time farming, while Naul will be having a lot of free reign over the jungle of Kuala Lumpur Hunters.
Absolutely crazy. Caspiel might be caught out once again, will be going down.
As we were saying, free reign over the Kuala Lumpur Hunters jungle. That was a beautiful deny as well on the flag and drag by Naul. He just knocks him up the moment he tries to go for the flag and drag.
Arhedge though actually again trying to run this out, but they gets taken down by the Renekton though. Shiro actually gets the kill onto Venus, but I don't think he'll be able to survive once again as both members of the Young Generation make that 3, converge onto him, takes him down, godlike for Nocti.
Yeah, and Big Koro wasn't even in that fight. and most of the gold is on Big Koro and Nocti. So we have to see like what Young Generation is capable of as a 5-man unit. Because right now, if I were a Young Generation, I'd just be threatening Baron right now because of how strong my ADC is.
Yeah, this is absolutely crazy. I mean, for Young Generation, as expected, very beautiful performance. But Kuala Lumpur Hunters, this isn't the team. This isn't the same team that I've seen during day one, where they had a better showing. Like, this is almost a shadow of the team that we've seen from day one, going into this third game where the macro is just almost hugely questionable.
Yeah, I feel like this could be possible burnout as well. We do know that a lot of players do get stressed when they lose their chance of not being able to go to Worlds. But as we were saying that, look at how they're already setting up for Baron. They can do Baron really easily because of how strong Nocti is. Nocti already committing to teleport. It's gonna be a Baron play. The Ren plus Nocti is way too strong, regardless of whether most of the dragons went towards the side of Kuala Lumpur Hunters. It all depends now on the ultimate coming out from our head.
Indeed, it looks like one member already. Caspiel goes down Nocti, trying to take down RH, but looks like two members double kill for Big Koro, as Shiro and RH will be backing away for the meantime. They do manage to delay the Baron though, but for how long exactly?
Yeah, but one thing you can take note of, the saving grace for Kuala Lumpur Hunters is that they do have a blue side Orianna, and what a blue side Orianna actually means for viewers who aren't familiar with the blue side Orianna is when the red team starts the Baron, their backline is actually exposed towards the blue team. So what happens is the Orianna can get a really good ultimate together with the Baron debuff. It basically means a lot of damage, and RH has an opportunity to insta-give the backline coming out from Young Generation. So as you can see here, RH, keep the eye on the ball. He actually uses his ult and whiffs it. This could have been what KLH needed to win the game. Actually get back into the game rather. But sadly, Veki and Bipolar are way too far off. Caspiel wasn't there as well. It was a 4v5, but it was decent by our hedge.
Again, the coordination, where is it? But looks like Bipolar and Veki might be in trouble here once again, as both members of the Kuala Lumpur Hunters go down, and this may be the signal for Young Generation to finally go for Baron.
Yeah, so again, Veki and Bipolar right now, they're with regards to the comms in the team, I feel like they're playing a different game. I don't think they're I think this is a 3v2v5 right now, because the way they're playing, they're having a really hard time. It seems like they're disconnect between themselves
exactly
and the team.
It's just quite unfortunate to witness right now. A lot of expectation coming in from the Kuala Lumpur Hunters. But then again, as you did mention, there are factors that go beyond outside the game, wherein such opportunities like your mindset ultimately gets affected when you're in these type of scenarios, that you can't really blame them, because especially for the both of us, we've both been through competitive scenarios wherein you'd kind of end up in these unfortunate slumps. But nonetheless, on the other side of things, Young Generation, this is a great way to start flexing in preparation for the next stage.
Yeah, they could just treat this game as like a practice game, showing off their strengths. I'm actually surprised that they're playing so seriously when they could be giving up information with regards to how they play. And Ascension Gaming, if I were Ascension Gaming, I'd be taking down notes as soon as possible. Like, this is a freebie, if you will, because you will be able to find out how Young Generation actually plays by seeing what their patterns are, what their tendencies are as well. So we'll see.
There we go. Let's go ahead and check out what happened here, though.
So look at Caspiel. Yes?
Tries
Caspiel
to go for the steal.
Tries to go for the steal. Immediately flags and drags into Nocti. Hi, kill me.
Trying to go for a sneaky. Unfortunately, did not quite work in his favor. And here we go. Lots and lots of pressure happening across the board with these empowered minions.
Yes, but the thing is, look at Nocti right now, 2v1, and here comes the cavalry. Venus
and
is
Venus,
there.
though, actually gets the kill onto Shiro. Caspiel will be the next to follow, though. Actually manages to escape. Will survive yet another day, but I can't really say the same for the base of Kuala Lumpur Hunters as inhibitor turrets. Not to mention inhibitor goes down here on the top.
I feel like this is very alarming.
Yes, indeed. But speaking of alarming, Arhedge might have to be alarmed himself, taking a lot of damage. Will he be able to survive? No! Ultimately goes down, and this is going to be 3 members. No, make that 4 members of Kuala Lumpur Hunters down. Becky, I don't think he could defend this. I believe we may have a game here. Teleport actually coming in from Nocti as well to join that picture finish of a game. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, the first seed of the group stage to go up against Ascension Gaming. Actually, still trying to dish out find some final targets, but that doesn't end it.
Yeah.
Young Generation for the win. I'm absolutely baffled right now.
Yeah, for me, it's just alarming. Like, back then, spring GPL, let's take a history lesson back to spring, GPL spring, right? It was just the question of whether who's the best jungler, Caspiel or Levi.
Levi, yes.
Levi, exactly. Actually, I think it's Levi. If I'm not,
Levi.
Yeah, it's Levi. And then now you have Venus running circles around Caspiel. Caspiel even securing the triple buff start still wasn't able to do much. And I feel like the gap between Vietnam and the other Southeast Asian countries is pretty big.
Yeah, I mean, but in retrospect, I'm not gonna lie. I was really rooting for the Kuala Lumpur Hunters as one of the top 2 teams, along with Manila Eagles, to potentially make it to the knockout stage. But unfortunately, that won't be the case. Nonetheless, congratulations once again to Young Generation, the 2nd seed of Vietnam, really showing that they have what it takes in their first showing in the GPL. Nonetheless, of course, we have been your casters, Arctic at your service, fam, and of course with me, Ice Iconic. Stay tuned as we head into Game 4 between Singaporean teams and Philippine teams. Stay tuned.